Hello and welcome back to Aetheral Space 17.43. Vice Commander Quix investigates. Yeah, that.
You didn't say it right because you clearly wrote it like a Pokemon or an anime title. It's like Vice Commander Quix investigates.
Yes, like
then
that.
It plays a little intro. Yeah. I'm so excited. So we have to do some quick math. We're gonna round this day up to 7,000. So I'm gonna do seven. Or actually, I don't even need to do that because I'm gonna use a calculator anyway. 365, assuming Earth calendar. This is 19 years ago, folks.
Yes.
Day negative 6,939. What's your name, young man? One Star smiled. His eyes closed as he looked down. The boy looked back up at him. How old?
Like a little kid.
Nicholas Quix, sir, he whispered. Founding Day was everyone in Z-Pan's favorite holiday. In fact, it was the only holiday they had. The quality of each normal day in the city was such that there wasn't much need to elevate others above the rest. When every day was calming and every day was kind, what was the need for distinction? But Founding Day was different. Founding Day was the day that Zephyr Pandershi had lifted them out of the muck and granted them their perfect world. It would be the height of disrespect not to honor him on such a day. That honor was all around Nicholas, all throughout Ward 1, all throughout the festival that encompassed the entire city. Great handmade banners billowed in artificial winds, declaring the love of the people for their benefactor. Choirs sang their thanks into the sky. Puck led the crowds on a mad and merry dance. Artists decorated the sides of buildings with beatific decals of the man himself. It was in every sight, every sound, every breath. "I love you," said the world. "I love you. I love you." And in the midst of all that adoration, a young Nicholas Quix looked up at his hero. Every boy of Z-Pan dreamed of becoming a Seelie Ranger, and all those who dreamed of being a Seelie Ranger admired the man called One Star, the visitor who had come here from a distant star, denying the barbarity of the outside world, becoming Z-Pan's sword and shield against the darkness beyond. All in Z-Pan admired Zephyr Pandershi, but they wanted to be One Star. That man, that warrior, that knight, still smiling gently, reached down and placed a gloved hand atop Nicholas's head. He had to go to the only place he's not cancelled.
It's basically what happened, yeah.
That man, that warrior, that knight, still smiling gently, reached down and placed a gloved hand atop Nicholas's head. "Work hard, young man," he said serenely. "I expect great things from you." Nicholas's breath caught in his throat. He doesn't have internet. His eyes nearly sparkled as they looked up with the utmost wonder.
Panda's like, I hang out with mad people so I can know how their minds work.
His hands would have trembled and made him look weak, so he clenched them into the mightiest fists. In that moment, Nicholas Quix knew he would follow this man into the service of Z-Pan. In that moment, Nicholas Quix knew it was the very reason he'd been born. Aetheral Space 17.43. Vice Commander Quix investigates. Day 3. "How are you feeling?" Nicholas Quix asked, his hands in his laps, his eyes distant. Just like everything else in Oberon, the infirmary was beyond state-of-the-art. Generally, so long as someone still had warmth in their veins, this place could save them. And, just like the rest of Oberon, it was a cold and sterile white. Everything white, as if color had never even touched it. You would think the stains would show. Nicholas shook his head to banish the scandalous thought as he looked up at the patient lying in the bed. Tamsin Halty had suffered grievous wounds at the hands of the Capricorn variant, losing limbs and having his stomach ripped open. Anywhere else, that surely would have been death sentences upon death sentences. But, through the grace of Oberon, he was looking back at Quix, not restored, but certainly on his way. The director's special blend of panacea and stimulants had quickly restored what had been taken from him. "How are you feeling?" Nicholas repeated gently, looking at his subordinate. This was his last stop tonight, before he would head out and assist with the search efforts being set up. He'd already checked on all the other Rangers that had been injured during the battle in Ward 8. Their injuries had been much less severe. Goodness, some of them were already back on their feet, insisted they would join the march upon the city ring, no matter how much Nicholas protested. "I am blessed with good men," Nicholas thought. "Good Rangers." "Sir," Tamsin's voice was a rasp at first. Nicholas held out a cup of water for him to drink from. Back then. Back there. Why did you save me? Nicholas frowned. Had this young man hit his head too in all the confusion? It's my duty to save you. I said so, didn't I? You too are a citizen of Zepan, no matter your position. But it's your duty to destroy Zepan's enemies too. They were right there. You let them go so you could save me. Save us. How did you decide? How did you decide which duty to follow? Nicholas closed his eyes. Ward 8. The thought was a violent chord, a nail scratching its way down the surface of his brain. Nicholas snapped his eyes open. No, it wasn't because of that. The false fable that a toy Musashi and that girl Hazley had spun, it would not find purchase within the heart of Nicholas Quix. When I find myself in such a situation, he responded, I try to make the choice that would leave me least ashamed. Yes, he thought. Yes, that's right. Isn't it? Day 4. This was foolishness. Nicholas Quix stepped into Oberon's archives once again. Just like before, it was ruled by darkness. A nest of black metal worms coiled around the spherical Pandershi drive that hovered over the abyss. The walkway stretched out before Nicholas, bridging the gap to forbidden knowledge. He had been here the previous night, too, just before the final church's forces had arrived and plunged everything into chaos. He hadn't been able to... The situation had changed so quickly that he hadn't been able to confirm what he needed to confirm. He only needed a bit more information to be assured of Zephyr Pandershi's innocence. That, and nothing else, was the reason he was standing here. It wasn't like he hadn't been able to confirm anything the night before. He'd already known the mechanism behind the Ward 8 massacre, but he'd still felt relief at seeing the records corroborated. He shook his head. Relief? No, that wasn't right. Who could feel relief at such a vile tale? Each and every citizen of Zepan was implanted with a tracking chip at the base of their neck, either when they were born or at their first wellness check. Ordinarily, they were used just as their name implied, tracking the well-being and positioning of citizens for their safety. But 5 years ago, someone had interfered with them. Using some kind of ability, they had forced the chips to rapidly overheat within the victims' bodies, melting through their flesh and ending their lives. Even just the thought of it brought bile to Nicholas's throat. He'd been a rank-and-file Seelie Ranger back then, one of those who had dug through the blood-drenched ruins looking for survivors, finding none. To take something designed to protect, and turn it into an instrument of execution. There was no greater evil in the galaxy. Nigen Rush must have used some power of his to take control of those chips. He'd mingled with the people of Ward 8 for quite some time before making his move, after all. Perhaps that had been a prerequisite for activation, slowly spreading his aether among the populace. Zephyr Pandershi would know, and so the Archive would know. The evil hand with which Nigen Rush had played his cards, all Nicholas had to do was look. He started walking. This place was not welcoming. The cold used to prevent the Pandershi drive, I assume preserve, gnawed at Quix's bones the closer he got to his destination. Cold blue light swept under his face as he passed them, painting his skull through his skin. All around, the dark pressed in, feeling far from empty. These archives should be very, very interesting.
Gastus, yeah.
Yeah.
Nicholas comes out with the freedom motif.
Yeah, for real. He would be the secret boss. Come and get me, Pandershi. Clunk, clunk, clunk. The metal beneath announced his footsteps. He clutched the access pass he'd gotten from Harry Phantasmtite. Yesterday, there had only been enough time to briefly dig into an overview of the Ward 8 incident, but today he intended to reach the bedrock. Today he intended to banish all the doubts he did not have. Nicholas Quix reached his destination. The console blinked below him, awaiting him to feed it. He let it dine upon the access pass. The card slid into the port, remained still for a few seconds, and was quickly regurgitated. A green light on the side of the machine confirmed validity. His trembling fingers reached the keyboard. Now that he was here, though, he wondered, was there really any need to look? He already knew what had happened. Nigen Rush had murdered the people of Ward 8. All he would find in the archive was reiteration of that simple fact. The only thing looking would accomplish was to bring bad memories back up. Why would he do that to himself? It made no sense. No, he didn't need to look. It was just foolish, just to think about. Nicholas Quix started typing. Ward 8. Results came in immediately, one after another, not many of them what he was looking for. Ward 8 blueprints, Ward 8 census, Ward 8 water quality reports. The information required to maintain a miniature world flowed forth without end. Taking a deep breath, Nicholas clarified his search. Ward 8 deaths. This time the results were far fewer. Deaths trend in Ward 8 since the founding of Z-Pan. Nicholas clicked on it and scrolled to the date he was looking for. Just as expected, 5 years ago, there was a spike like never before or since, and after that, nothing. The Ward 8 massacre. Nicholas dug. The deaths had been caused by sudden and simultaneous overheating of each Ward 8 citizen's tracking chips, far beyond the point where the safety mechanism should have engaged and cut the connection. As a result, the chips had melted right through flesh and caused horrific internal bleeding and burns. This part he'd already confirmed. Nicholas dug. Immediately prior to the deaths, 2 override commands had been issued to each and every chip in Ward 8. The first had been to disable the safety mechanism. Well, that explained that. The second had been to continually run a junk program that resulted in the overheating. That made sense. There were Aether abilities that interfered with technology. Negan Rush had no doubt used one of those. Nicholas dug. There was a record of the origin point of those 2 commands. Top-level clearance originating from Oberon itself. Negan Rush had had allies hiding among their ranks. When he gave the order after escaping Z-Pan, they killed the citizens to cover his exit from their moot. That was it. That had to be it. If Nicholas had just found the spies, he could avenge all those poor people. Nicholas dug. There was a trace to be followed in those commands. Nicholas dug. Could be traced back to a single console with a single user. Nicholas dug. The console was right at the top of Z-Pan. The personal access console of Nicholas dug. Zephyr. Pandershi. Nicholas hit the bottom of the world. He stared at the screen, sweat-covered fingers hovering over the keys, his breathing heavy. The command had come directly from the director's console. The console had been accessed directly with the director's credentials. But that didn't mean anything, since someone could have stolen his access. Someone could have hacked into the console. Would the director of the Pandershi Foundation really allow that, though? Shut up, Nicholas whispered to himself. Would the director of the Pandershi Foundation let some common spy infiltrate his personal quarters? Shut up, he repeated beseechingly. Would the director of the Pandershi Foundation allow anyone but himself to give such a command? Shut up! Nicholas screamed, staggering back from the console as if it were about to attack him. You seem distressed. What? What is this symbol?
Oh, it's intention.
It's a little digital skull appears. Is it on the computer? What is this?
This is the vibe he got recently.
Oh. Gaster appeared. What's that? However it goes. Nicholas stopped, his heart nearly leaping out of his chest at the familiar voice. I'm literally imagining this, and this is the scene where it's fucking like every scene where like the protagonist, the antagonist shows up behind them and starts saying some shit calmly. Nicholas stopped, his heart nearly leaping out of his chest at the familiar voice. Slowly he turned his head. Saliva struggled its way down his throat. Standing down the walkway was Unseelie Shield, the supreme commander of the Seelie Rangers, 1 star. His expression was as serene as ever, his eyes closed, his smile slight, as if he was watching some endearing display of humanity. His sword was sheathed at his hip. His shield rested against the other. Nicholas Quix had no reason to take note of such things. Did you not hear about the operation going on in the city ring, Nicholas? 1 star cocked his head, still smiling. No, I'm certain you did. We were both there when the director ordered it, after all. Maybe you just weren't aware that it had been put back on after all that confusion with the final church's arrival. At any rate, I'm surprised to find you here. What are you doing? Nicholas stepped away from the console, leaving the toxic words on the screen behind. Close the tabs! Close the tabs! I was concerned, he said honestly. During my encounter with the toy Musashi last night, he made an attempt at psychological warfare. Oh. 1 star's eyes were closed, but it still felt like he was staring. Nicholas nodded. He attempted to plant lies about past events in the city's history. He went to great lengths. I came here to assure myself of the truth. That's all, sir. And are you? One Star smiled. Nicholas blinked. Sir? Are you assured of the truth? One Star said. That's why you came here, after all. Nicholas squeezed his hands into fists, even though it felt so much like he was moving through an ocean. He took a deep breath, even though the air suddenly felt so thin. He looked forward with resolution, even though his eyes now felt so itchy in their sockets. I'm afraid not, sir, he said. In fact, I fear that Atoy Musazi's efforts, and the efforts of those he's working with, run deeper than we thought. I suspect they've modified the records in the Pandershi drive. My, One Star said mildly. That certainly would be disastrous. Can you elaborate? Nicholas nodded. The story Atoy Musazi forced upon me was regarding Ward 8, the end of Ward 8. He wove a lie claiming that, he had to force the words out of his throat, that the director was the true party responsible. As far as attempts to shake my resolve, there could be none so dastardly. I understand his intentions now. He wanted me to come here and investigate the matter myself, so he could convince me of a false narrative and turn me into his pawn. And yet you saw through it, One Star said gently. It's clear that Atoy Musazi has underestimated you. That arrogance will be his downfall, Nicholas replied, steeling himself as he strode forward across the walkway. The only wound he's inflicted is upon himself. With this, it's clear that there is a breach in our internal security. Someone modified the records here. Perhaps that female Hadrian variant last night. Now that we know about the hole, we can plug it. I'll speak to the director. One Star stepped to the side as his subordinate approached, granting him passage. A wise choice, he nodded. I've said it since the day you joined our ranks, Nicholas. You have a clear head for such things. Nicholas Quix passed him. That's what it takes to. Pain bloomed. Clear? One Star chuckled. And empty. Blood dripped, slithering into the gaps in the walkway's floor and descending into the abyss. Nicholas's hand twitched, held captive by some panicked and misfiring impulse. He could have looked back. But he didn't. He didn't need to. He already knew what had happened. The moment Nicholas's back had been exposed, One Star had thrust his sword into it. Even now he was behind him, pushing the hilt of his blade with the palm of his hand. The gentle smile of his face was unmarred, despite the blood covering his cheek. You lied, didn't you, Nicholas? One Star asked softly. You lied to me. You did believe the nonsense you just read, didn't you? To think someone like you would fall victim to misinformation? The blade turned in Nicholas's wound just slightly, and he let out a gasp of pain. His twitching hand clutched the railing, holding on for dear life. His breathing was labored. Still, though, he did not turn his head. It's far too tragic to witness a mind poisoned by lies, One Star sighed. I was hoping to put you down cleanly and remember you as you were. But it seemed you had different ideas. One Star was still pushing his sword forward, seeking to impale Nicholas entirely. But the sword would sink no deeper, even though a good third of the blade was still visible. The Supreme Commander clicked his tongue. And still, Nicholas did not turn his head. This is a Seelie shield inside your own body, isn't it? One Star observed. You saw my attack coming and acted to protect your heart the moment my sword slid into your flesh. Oh, Nicholas, why would you show me your back like that if you knew what awaited you? Nicholas Quix turned his head. Oh, One Star suppressed a smirk. Oh, really? Have some dignity, man. Does it hurt that much? A soul had shattered, and the shards pooled at Nicholas Quix's face. Tears poured from his eyes, snot bubbles at his nostrils. His teeth were bared in an expression of utmost anguish. That's not it. Nicholas shook his head, his voice a croak. It's not it. It's true, isn't it? You were trying to silence me. So it's true. He really... all those people... Why? Tell me, please, why? What have I been fighting for? What have I been living for? By the time he was done speaking, his words were screams, desperately demanding answers not just from one star, but from the universe itself. He was a mind on the edge of the abyss. In contrast, one star's face didn't so much as twitch. Those same closed eyes, that same peaceful smile. "Oh dear," he said. "It seems you've lost yourself to madness. I'd better put you down quickly." Gorgeous morning! Ordinarily, even with the enhanced speed granted by Gorgeous Morning, Nicholas would have been unable to escape from One Star. One Star had already activated his adhesion ability upon his own blade, after all, sticking it to the inside of Nicholas's body as it pierced him. Despite his despair, however, Nicholas had taken that into account. As One Star raised his now freed sword, he turned his head down towards the blade with a mild curiosity. It was utterly coated in flesh. Nicholas had torn himself away, surrendering only his insides that were in direct contact with the sword. It was a gruesome injury, should be. It was a gruesome injury all the same, but it had given him the opportunity to break free, and now he was on the move. A silver light darted around the massive room, as if bouncing off the walls. Nicholas Quix rushing full speed through a perpetual gorgeous morning, scattering blood as he went. He was moving so quickly that anybody else would have been unable to follow it, but One Star did so easily. Still smiling more, perhaps, he raised his sword in one hand and his shield in the other. "I hate to say such a thing to my dear colleague," One Star said, amusement coloring his voice, "but I'm afraid you're not leaving this room alive." The light rushed forward, and One Star opened his eyes to meet it. Those eyes were open only for a second, but they were enough to create a single instant of hesitation. At the sight of them, Nicholas hesitated, locked in place by an instinctive terror, and the absurd speed of Gorgeous Morning instead became merely overwhelming. That would not be enough to make it past the Supreme Commander of the Sealy Rangers. One Star's sword moved, almost lazily, and blood danced in the air. Nicholas crashed to a halt, warping the walkway where he landed, clutching his bleeding arm with a pained expression on his face. His features still bore the stains of despair, tears, snot, saliva. But, all the same, some spark of resolve had reignited in his eyes. His breathing was heavy, but his soul was undeterred. "What was the plan?" One Star wondered aloud, flicking the blood from his blade. "Rush past me and escape into Oberon? What then? You're a traitor, Nicholas. There's no safe place for you anywhere." "A traitor," Nicholas hissed, slowly pushing himself back to his feet. "I? A traitor?" "Yes," One Star replied placidly. "You're the only other person here." Fury pumped through Nicholas's heart. Rage broke through the boundaries of Nicholas's brain. The wound One Star had dealt to his right arm was long and cruel, and yet the Vice Commander clenched that hit into a fist all the same. "The only traitor here is you!" Nicholas screamed, pulling his racket weapon free from its holster. "You and the Director! Every single person, living or dead! This whole city! You've betrayed them all! I trusted you, goddamn you! I loved you!" "Oh, wow," One Star said, his lips quivering into a smirk. "The misinformation is really bad. You're saying all kinds of nasty things." Nicholas let out a heaving breath, barely holding back another torrent of tears. "What'd you say?"
Nothing.
"Tell me one more thing," he whispered. "What's that?" "Ward 8! Nicholas spat, the imagined horror visible behind his eyes. When did you find out? How long have you known?" "Oh, Nicholas, such a thing never—" "Tell me! Gorgeous Morning!" Right now, in this darkest place, Nicholas Quix's speed was his greatest weapon. He rushed forward, racket ready, zooming in a straight line towards his new enemy. Gorgeous Morning didn't allow him to attack while it was active, but if he cancelled the ability right before striking, he could retain the momentum and land a devastating blow. His racket swung through the air like the wrath of God. "One Star!" and came to a sudden, ignoble halt. I assume halt.
Oh, yeah.
One Star had not raised his shield. One Star had not even brought up his sword. Instead, One Star had calmly reached out and caught the rim of the racket between 2 fingers, firmly hiding it in place with but the slightest of efforts. He raised a... What? He raised a finger eyebrow?
Single eyebrow, sorry.
I was like, huh? Kid named Finger? He raised a single eyebrow. Is this some kind of joke? He wondered, dangerously soft. You know full well I've never been cut by an enemy's blade, Nicholas. I take some measure of pride in that. Did you imagine you'd be some kind of exception? The Supreme Commander's smile opened just a bit, revealing a hint of white teeth. If such a thing had happened, he whispered, well, maybe it would have been my idea. Nicholas's eyes widened. There are 2 reasons I chose you as my second-in-command, you know, One Star said, a mild amusement in his voice. The first was the wherewithal not to attempt such a futile attack as this. The second? His sword moved. It was a vicious slash right down the center of Nicholas's torso, spraying blood and opening him up. A gasp poured out of Nicholas's throat, failing to become a scream only due to lack of strength. And then, up, down, 2 more slashes, as perfunctory and graceless as a man painting a fence, turning the walkway below them red. Nicholas fell backwards, but he never reached the floor. One Star reached out, expressionless, and seized hold of his subordinate by the collar. His sword was already sheathed again at his hip. He had no more need for it. Thump, thump, thump. One Star's gloved fist smashed into Nicholas's face, each blow accompanied by a wet crunch. Nicholas's nose utterly demolished by One Star's knuckles. Even then, the Supreme Commander wasn't done. He seized hold of the back of Nicholas's head and slammed his knee up into the man's chin. He drove his fist again into Nicholas's stomach, earning a spurt of bloodied vomit. Nicholas's mouth opened in silent agony, and One Star took the opportunity to reach inside, wrenching free a handful of teeth. Nicholas Quix had become a punching bag, and only when One Star was satisfied did he finally allow him to fall to the ground. The second reason I made you my second-in-command, One Star resumed calmly, catching his breath, is that you make such funny faces, even while you're sleeping. That face was a mass of bruises, features swollen and distorted, already turning a ghastly purple. A single intact eye gleamed up at One Star with what might have been a phantom spark of awareness. The Supreme Commander didn't stop to regard it. Instead, he simply kicked the man lying on the ground, and sent him rolling under the railing and falling into the abyss. From the mental journal of a certain bleeding failure. I have lived a meaningless life. Perhaps it is my one virtue that I can now recognize that. I am beaten, I am falling, I am dying. This is what my realization, made far too late, has given me.
I don't think he's quite so hyped up about it. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. It's just you did the funny in text. I'll make it more sappy. I am beaten. I am falling. I am dying. This is what my realization, made far too late, has given me. I have spent my days in the service of those not human. I say this because those who are human could never do such wicked things. Perhaps I, who served them, am just as inhuman. I have lost the right to ask such questions, let alone answer them. The dark wraps itself around me. The air pushes me down. My broken limbs flap in the winds of my end. Look at me, I invite you. Look at me, and never be me. Even without that fist striking my face, it is but wreckage. My false righteousness has abandoned me, leaving only the simple gaze of a simple man, never understanding a single thing about this world I sleepwalked through. The uniform I was so proud of, that pristine white garb, has been stained with my filth. Even though I know now that it was a lie from the beginning, I still feel that I have diminished it. Seelie Ranger, protector of Zepan, The words are less than ash, butchers and fools. That is all we ever were, butchers and fools. I have failed the city, left it within the coiled body of a serpent. My men, I have failed them too. They will be the fangs of the serpent, and will be stained red too. They will become just like me. Everyone, I will fail. That boy looking up with wonder in his eyes, I have failed him most of all. Such ill fate to spend so many years growing, only to turn into me. How much longer now? How much longer must I fall? How much longer until it's all over? Ah. Why was I even born? Nicholas Quix vanished into the darkness below, swallowed utterly, leaving not even a trace that he had ever existed.
Oh.
Wow. Very nice, Honey. And I didn't hear any apologies for a one-chapter week, so I take it.
There's another one, yeah.
Oh, we're eating so good. Everyone, can we hit a fat I love you lock in the chat?
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this chapter, please remember to leave a review on Royal Road and Spotify, maybe even. And let us know if you're enjoying it. Tell your friends. And if you think, oh, I need the next chapter now, fuck! Well, did you know there's a Patreon?
Yeah.
Theoretically, you will always be one chapter in advance. Think about it. It's only, what is it, like $2 a month?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Join now, my lord.
There are a couple of favorite questions, maybe?
Uh-huh. One of them is mine, but Stiff posted it for me.
Okay. What's the question? You should know it, then.
Yeah. It's, let me pull it up. It was, like, very specific. Oh, hang on. We have a couple others to get through first. Oh, no. Stiff didn't post it for me. I mean, she did. She posted one of them, but I had another one. So here's mine. Are you ready?
Okay, what's your question?
Theoretically, is it possible to create essentially an afterlife out of Aether? Like you create
I saw you saw that.
That absorbs the consciousness of people as they die, who can then use their power, like their Aether and consciousness, to feed it, kind of like the Sapphire Star, and then basically create an entire afterlife. Or could you do something in such to enter the Aetheral Space with your full consciousness and essentially live forever?
I'd say you could probably do the former. Like I said, when someone's like got in a conscious Aether, it's usually like an awakening, for example. That's the Aether with the memories and thoughts, so it's not really them in that sense. Unless it's a perspective thing, but you can get that and put that into like a database as an afterlife. Sure, why not?
Yeah. I also had... So Stiff posted one variant. I have another question.
Okay.
So we know the Aetheral Space can be entered. Bruno did it. Presumably others can, through some bullshit means.
Well, Bruno is also a bit of a non-standard case, but yeah.
Sure. But, still, we know it's a place that can be interacted with. On some level, someone like Jargon, for example, who could turn themselves into Aether with Gemini World might be able to enter. So my question is this. Let's say you go to the Aetheral Space, right? Just assume, for the sake of argument, I'm in the Aetheral Space, or Bruno's in the Aetheral Space. What happens if you fire a Durf Shoots?
You blow up everyone who is currently using Aether. Well, no, you blow up all the Aether that's currently there. Probably kill everyone. Well, actually, if you kill everyone who's currently using Aether, probably.
Because they're accessing it and, like, connected to that space.
Yes. They connect to, let's say, like, Aetherals, the sparks, which is the bit that it blows up. I would say, though, it would do nothing to prevent new people from unlocking Aether afterwards, or anything like that.
So it's not like Aether is a finite resource that's drawn from there. It's generated in some way, like it could come back.
Yes.
Interesting. And is it regenerated naturally or, like, by some process?
Well, I don't know if there's much of a difference between those, but it would be It would be fairly natural, I would say, like over time. Or if a new
So
person like unlocked Aether, it would just be the same as before, like when they build it up.
So there's also a lot of Aether in the Aetheral Place, right?
It's all Aether, yeah, it's Aetheral.
So, like, is that located anywhere physically, or is it, like, in another dimension?
It's like another realm of existence. It's another. It's not like a physical place you could like make a portal to. I will. But it's
Okay.
like it's a different realm, let's say.
Okay. So, next question. What happens if you enter the Aetheral Place and you pop a fat beast crown?
You will become inconceivably powerful. However, there's no one there to use that power on.
Well, my thought was, like, you go to the Aetheral Place, right? You pop a fat fucking beast crown, and then you essentially use it to... You have so much Aether to do anything, you essentially make yourself a god.
I suppose you could try it.
Alright. That's enough Aetheral Place questions. I don't want that to become the new Anatrice, but I was just thinking about it. Because there's a lot of things suggested by Aether taking up physical space and being explodable, and there being a place made of Aether that really got me curious. So I guess you could say, in a way, Maxim's plan could feasibly be something like go to the Aetheral Place, fire his fucking Durfry shoots. Kill
I don't
every Aether
think
user
he would be
instantly.
satisfied with that.
Oh.
Because it leaves the door open for more
Interesting.
A for later.
Well, not if you don't teach anyone how to do it. The Sapphire Star is missing now.
Well, people know
That'd be
how
everybody
to
who knows how
unlock
to do
Aether.
it.
Wouldn't kill, like I say, it wouldn't kill anyone who's using Aether at that time. Like if they're not using their Aether at that
Yeah.
moment, they will survive, and they'll remember.
But aren't all Aether users passively using Aether, you mentioned,
lot
unless they
are.
choose not to?
A lot are, but not everyone will be.
Okay.
I mean, it's a whole like galaxy.
That's true, that's true. Alright, so let's get to some other questions. Weiser asks... Oh, that's not a question. Stift asks, did you put Jin back in after Weiser reminded you of them, or were they planned to be in the Sark from the beginning?
It was purely because I got reminded they existed. That I'd mentioned them once in Arc 1.
So what are they? What were they supposed... Did they have a bigger role in the story
I think
immediately? Or
they
were
were
just, like,
originally...
fluff?
I think maybe they were the GID originally and the name changed, but I can't remember. But
I
now
like to
they're
think it was the
aspiring.
GID. Yeah,
I think they were
that's
probably the
very
GID.
funny. That's so funny.
I don't
There's a lot
know.
of Arc 1 jankiness with, like, names coming up later. It's very funny.
That's the only one where it's like completely different.
Well, we also had Avos Muzazi.
Yeah, but you're still
and we
Muzazi.
had a couple. Yeah, that's true. We had a couple. There were... I can't remember all of them, but there were some other weird ones in Arc 1 I remember. I think Avaman was called something else
Yeah,
originally.
Araman, I think it was.
Yeah. Rurum asks, which of the other old demons of the Dawn would be the least dangerous to wield, assuming Victory is the most dangerous?
They're all pretty dangerous. I would say Mercy would be the least dangerous because she's the one who's like still sane, the most sane. I would say she's not sane, but she's the most sane.
Yeah, she's
In
still
that
like you can have a conversation with her that isn't just like I'm gonna.
Yeah,
kill
but she will kill a lot of people, but she'll like feel really bad about it afterwards. But she will do it again.
And then let's end it with Room asks which. Oh wait, I just did that.
I would say also maybe Victory is not the most dangerous. I would say Wisdom would be the most dangerous because she's really smart, and she's also like got that mental degradation that's like gives the bloodlust and shit. But she like knows what she's
Yeah.
doing and she's got like schemes and plans and shit.
Oh, and which one is that?
Wisdom.
Wisdom. And who calls Aether wisdom? I am a tree. I can't help but imagine Ioneer is that, you know that meme that was going around of, like the tree with the fuck ass face
Yeah.
on like a ad. I am a tree. All right.
I know the
so we
secrets
actually
of the
don't have-
setting.
We have only a few left, so let's save them for the next one.
Okay.
But we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.